Welcome, Nilay. Welcome, everybody, to our GrowinCast, the podcast where we meet CPG experts, supply chain experts, and I'm so happy to be here with you today, where we're going to talk about some very interesting topics around the usage of artificial intelligence in supply chain. So we're gonna have like three blocks that we'll be talking about usage of AI in warehousing management, and then also how you see AI being applied to solve the supply chain challenges that we are facing nowadays, and then also how AI can help the food and beverage sector to overcome their supply chain issues. Okay, but first of all, of course, I want you to introduce yourself and to tell us a little bit what Arvist does in the supply chain realm.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks a lot, Raphael, for having me here. Excited to talk. So, yeah, I'm Nilay Parikh. I'm the founder and CEO at Arvist. We are optimizing loading docks and warehouses and distribution centers for productivity, quality, and compliance using existing infrastructure with our artificial intelligence platform. And how we're doing that is by bringing in data from existing infrastructure. Like I said, your security camera is one, your cell phone cameras, as well as your warehouse management systems or ERP, enterprise resource planning softwares, which are available. And using these data sources, we give real-time insights, mainly focused on how to improve your quality, how to improve your efficiencies, and how to improve your safety and compliance in warehouses. Mm-hmm. So that's the gist of it. But yeah, happy to talk more.
Sure. Well, that's super interesting. So tell me a little bit first, what are we always say that every tech company exists to solve problems, right? So what are like the specific problems that Arvist is solving?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the first things to understand over here is why are we focused on loading docks in a warehouse, right? So one thing when we talk to most of our customers, and myself, I've been in the supply chain industry for almost 7 years. So I know that almost 70 to 80% of activities in a warehouse happen at the loading docks, right? That's where, your quality issues start and end. That's where your trucks are coming in. That's where your inventory is being counted. A lot of happening, if you will, in the warehouse is around the loading docks. So that's why we focused over there. And then coming to the actual problems that we are solving, right? One thing which is common across the warehouses in the entire world right now is the labor shortage, right? 3 out of 4 warehouses have trouble finding people, especially at the floor level, right? Where there's a big churn, there's some massive companies which are taking up most of the employees. And overall, the newer generation doesn't want to work in this industry. So labor shortage is number one. Second one is quality issues are the number one reason why a warehouse's customer would churn, right? When you do not supply proper goods, proper equipment, proper resources as you have promised, you tend to lose customers simply because there's so much competition in this market, right? And so the third thing is there is definitely a requirement for automation in this industry because the profit margins are traditionally so small, right? Whether you take warehouses 30 years ago or right now and look at the trend, the profit margins have remained pretty much constant, right? It's been that 3 to 5% profit margin range. Your pizza stores down the street have better profit margins than warehousing companies, right? They're not doing as much revenue, but the margins are the same. So now if you want to improve this margin when you're running a business and you want to put in automation and you bring in all these hardware, wearables, sensors, IoT devices that you see on LinkedIn pages and stuff like that, it becomes very hard to maintain that profit margins, right? You're basically losing the money by installing and investing in such expensive equipment. So that was combination of these three problems is what Arvist is trying to solve, right? How can we leverage what data already exists so they don't have to buy and purchase new hardware? And how can we solve for quality, productivity, and the labor shortage issues that these industries are facing?
That's super interesting because every time that we think about warehouse management, it always comes some IoT to my mind, something that I will have to buy, that I will have to install.
Yeah.
So by applying the technology that you developed, so there's no equipment, no hardware needed. What are like the minimum requirements that a warehouse needs to have in order to install your software?
Right. So very basic requirements. Internet, you require Wi-Fi if you want to use our software. You need security cameras in most cases, and also which is becoming more and more prevalent, right? Security cameras are almost ubiquitous, if you will, across the board. And everyone is carrying cell phones around. So we are trying to work with whatever exists. In some cases, there might be a requirement to add a few more cameras or reposition a couple of more cameras, things like that. But we're trying to just make sure that these bare minimum requirements allow us to give the software to our customers. And the point that you mentioned, right? Like when you think about warehouse and automation, you always think about IoT and robotics and things like that, which is fair because that's what we have been fed. And like when you see Amazon and UPS and Walmart showing automation, that's the scale at which they operate. Those investments make sense. But when you talk about any customers below the Amazon, their suppliers, right, it does not make sense for the smaller level players, if you will.
That makes sense. So you're targeted more in a specific like size of warehouse, and also is it industry agnostic? Or is there any sector that you see your technology working better?
Yeah, so we are focused a lot on that small to medium enterprise and also going to medium to large, but not super large enterprises in the warehousing industry. I would call it any companies below $150 million in revenue, but above that certain threshold of at least $10 to $20 million in revenue, because these are not just the mom and pop warehouses, one-off small locations, but they have maybe, let's say, 2 locations, 5 locations, 10 locations. They have invested significant amount to grow their business, and now they are at that threshold where they can't just throw more people to solve the problem, right? So that's the kind of persona that we really target. And sector-wise, technically speaking, it is agnostic. It can be applied across the board. Where we are seeing a lot of success and where we are seeing a lot of traction as well is e-commerce fulfillment, last mile fulfillment, and food and beverage distribution. And if you see the common trend, it is because all of these have a lot of quality issues. They are the ones who are trying to move goods and products way faster than some of the other bulky product. And that's where a lot of compliance and safety issues come into play as well. So these are like good target industries for us to prove out the ROI way quicker than some of the other sectors.
No, yeah, that's awesome. So, considering that it is like purely software based, right? The technology, so you could eventually supply it like worldwide, right? It doesn't need necessarily to be in the US, or am I wrong?
No, for sure. That's 100% right. We are actually currently in conversations with our first customers in Mexico and Canada. We're also talking to a customer in Japan. And the idea is exactly that. It is a software product. It can be installed anywhere. And the interesting part is we started the company during COVID, right? And at that time, like a lot of companies, we didn't know if we would be able to travel to a customer site to deploy. So all of our onboarding is geared towards deploying our software remotely. Of course, it helps to meet the customer and do it in person, but we can do it remotely.
Well, that's impressive. I really like the idea. So when I was inviting you to this podcast, I said, Nilay, we can talk about AI in supply chain. And you said, well, I like the topic AI. So how are you applying AI today, like both to your clients, but also if you have like any internal use cases as well within the company itself?
Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously we are an AI company, so we deploy our solutions to improve. Like we do instantaneous quality checks. For example, right? Like when a pallet is unloaded from a truck, they can scan a picture, and immediately our software would tell them that, hey, your WMS says 20 boxes were supposed to arrive, 18 arrived. Right, do a quick check. Or if you're shipping it out, it would say, hey, you're shipping out a few products which are close to expiry dates. Right now, your WMS might have information about expired products, but we can also give them insights around, hey, some of them might expire in 4 days when it reaches your destination. Right, and that way we can prevent stuff from being shipped out. The consequence of things like that is not just quality and you're serving your customers better, but now you're saving space on your trucks. Right. That way you're saving fuel cost. You're becoming a more sustainable company without, buying carbon credits and doing all those fancy things. You're actually doing practical stuff to make sure you are more sustainable. Things like even on safety side of things, right? Like identifying near misses of forklifts with humans or pallets with humans, things like that. So we can identify and tell them that, hey, these are the areas in your facility where the chances of accidents occurring might be highest. So maybe train your employees better, maybe, make your road or pathways wider, things like that. So we are preventing accidents from happening altogether instead of just telling them that, hey, there was an accident, right? Which is also important. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But prevention is always better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that way, there's a lot of, use cases. I can go into details about how we're solving for our customers. You asked as a company how we are doing. We are a tech company, so I have my colleagues who are way interested in using all new gadgets and toys which come out every single day in this world. But what's interesting is that we are a small company, right? Startup. We have 6 people now in our company. I think a normal startup, what we are doing and the technology and the product that we have achieved, at least 5 years ago, we would require 10 to 12 people to do it.
Right? Yeah.
But because of all these different AI tools which are available, like GitHub Copilot is a good example, which does quality automation checks for our developers' codes in real time, makes it way more easier, efficient for them to do tasks. And that way we are able to keep our team lean, and at the same time we can move way faster. And these tools are now available to companies of our size. And initially it was available, but it was to just massive companies. So there's a lot of technology development on the AI front itself, which can be used not from a supply chain perspective, from a tech company development perspective.
Yeah, I really like it. So you mentioned that one of the problems that you solve is labor shortage, right? And well, we work in the contract manufacturing space,
right?
So where we try to meet idle capacity from manufacturing sites with CPG brands that need to outsource production.
Correct.
And a lot of times what we see happening is that even though a contract manufacturer, they have the equipment, they have their production lines, it is idle, but they don't have labor to work, to produce, or to get more clients. So labor is definitely being a problem, especially here in the US. So we follow it super closely. So in this specific problem, is there any success? I mean, not specific success case.
Yeah.
But do you have an idea, what's the headcount saving that AI can bring, with such automation in warehouses, for instance?
Yeah, no, for sure. Let me talk through an actual use case, right?
Okay.
So with one of our customers, they are located down in Virginia, over here in the US. They have had issues around the pallets which were coming in from their supplier, which are coming in damaged a lot of times. Right now, the ideal or the normal scenario or workflow for them would be a pallet is unloaded, someone would go around the pallet, do a quick visual inspection, then they would put it up in their rack silos, wherever they're putting it, right? But also these workers on their floor are incentivized by unloading the trucks as fast as possible so that other trucks can come over there. So there's the incentive misalignment, if you will, right? So they are trying to unload it as fast as possible. Now you can't expect them to do a quality inspection as well. And they did not have the personnel either, that one person is unloading, another person is going around taking a look. So what they would do is just unload it, right? And they would bear the cost of any damaged pallets, which was around $20,000 to $30,000 every month. Now, with an AI-based inspection that we have installed at their location, we can identify a damaged pallet. Now, this is at about 90 to 95% accuracy, so which is still not bad, right? 9 out of 10 times we are right. So we would just flag it to the forklift driver that, hey, there's something wrong, take a look. So only at that time they would stop, do an inspection. If it is damaged, they would notify at that time itself. So there's a proof of load right at that time itself, right? So now that one person is able to do the job of two people. A lot of times, when you read about these controversial articles and videos about AI replacing human jobs, here is a good example where AI is augmenting a human job. This was a position that the customer was having a really hard time filling anyway. There was no one applying for that job. Now the same person is able to do both of those persons' job, and they're able to do it way more efficiently. So that's, headcount savings is maybe an incorrect term. How much more efficient are people, which you already have, are becoming with AI can be a really good metric. Even when you talk about contract manufacturing, right? With the same workforce, how much more can you double your production? Can you triple your production? That would be a way better metric than putting it in a negative context, which scares a lot of people when you talk about new technology.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are so many challenges, right, to be solved in the supply chain space. You chose warehousing, which is great. I mean, I love it. But now we will allow ourselves to go a little bit broader and think about supply chain as a whole. So I'll give you some example. We just last weekend we had the Super Bowl. I mean, the weekend before,
right?
We had the Super Bowl here in the US, which is a huge thing, right? And I remember that a few days before Super Bowl, I went to buy groceries, and I saw so many shelves empty.
Right.
I don't know, even snacks or the beer that I wanted or the drink that I wanted.
Right.
I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, whoa. Don't people know that every year there's Super Bowl?
Right.
Don't they know that they need to fulfill their supply chain with everything?
Yeah.
Do you think is it still a spillover effect from the pandemic, or what is going wrong with the supply chain in the US?
Right. So it's an interesting observation, right? Yes, we saw empty shelves during pandemic, and then we saw overstocked shelves post-pandemic, and now we are in that limbo. A lot of people say this disruption is the new normal, right? This is gonna keep happening a lot as consumer trends change. We are facing on a day-to-day basis. There's so many different macroeconomic conditions around the world which are affecting this. You see the Middle East attacks, which happened on the ships, which stopped the ships from going through the channel, and they had to go around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, which basically added about 7 to 10 days for shipment. There's similar issues going on with different weather patterns, climate change affecting a lot of shipping routes as well. Right? There's internally, I don't know if you read the news, but today there's, I think, a strike for truckers going on in New York. New Jersey is the largest port in the US, right? If the truckers are not moving goods out of port, even if the goods reach our ports, it's not going to go to our shelves. So there's a lot of these different political and environmental things, which is beyond the scope of our conversation over here. But there has been a consistent improvement, if you will, in terms of visibility of products. Right? There's been definitely a lot of involvement in a lot of tools which give you visibility around where your ships are, where your containers are, where your products are. There's predictive capabilities, right? Hey, what all would you require? There's certain aspects which are still beyond AI's control, or AI is still not good enough, where, let's say, right 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, there's a new campaign with your favorite celebrity with selling a new brand of Coke Zero, and suddenly it's sold out, right? It was never predicted. Or vice versa, when we saw, I think last year, when Bud Light caught in a
Cancel
controversy,
nearly. Yeah.
and suddenly they had Bud Lights available, none of the other beers were available, right? So those are things which are happening so much in real time, and it's really getting hard. Like our world is moving way faster, and it's just getting super hard, right? And so that's these disruptions are on a local level are going to continue to happen, and that's why there's a lot of opportunities as well across the board in supply chain, right? Where the stuff that you and me are doing, right, it's just part of small gaps that we are trying to fill. But overall, there's so many opportunities and so many things which are still very, very manual, right? When we go out to these customers, some of them are still on pen and paper, right? Like we are not. When you ask me questions like the bare minimum, what do you require? Wi-Fi, right? We have talked to customers who are still working on fax. Right? They wanted us to automate a fax workflow, and it's like surprising when you talk about supply chain and manufacturing. It's still not caught up to the 21st century technology. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, we face those challenges on a
Right.
daily basis that's for our team, when we have to talk to contract manufacturers. They don't attend, they don't see emails, they don't see their cell phones. We literally, there was once, we had a project from a client of ours,
Uh-huh.
and I had to fly to Idaho
Yeah.
to talk to the potato producers because there was no way I could talk to them, right? So yeah, that's our lives in the day to day.
Exactly.
However, I also think there is a big opportunity for AI there, because I saw an article from NFX, like the famous VC,
Right.
and they were talking about the AI leapfrog, right? How AI can bring a huge jump of technology for some lagging industries, right? And I think the industry, the manufacturing space,
Yeah.
especially food, beverage, or the ones that you mentioned, that the small or medium sized family owned warehouse, for instance, there's a huge opportunity there to take them out of like the paper,
Right.
and maybe skip email, skip cell phone, skip everything, and let's go directly to to the top notch technology
Correct.
that there is in the market. In this sense, have you seen anything that attracted your attention in the supply chain field, like beyond Arvist, beyond warehousing, like a new technology that you saw, man, that's for manufacturing, can be really disruptive?
So one thing, and this is right on trend right now, especially with Apple releasing their Vision Pro glasses, right? I had a conversation with a founder, I think it was a year or 2 years ago. They were using virtual reality for training employees in mining industry, right? And that's when our conversation went around the overall supply chain, right? Like especially in manufacturing, you said your contract manufacturers don't have employees, right? What if you found temp workers? They did not know how to run those machines, but they could put on glasses which could guide them through the instructions. So they would basically just following the instructions. They don't need a 2-week, 4-week, 6-week training period before starting their jobs. And I think there's a lot of potential, untapped potential over there. This again goes back into the expensive hardware side of things. But when you're in the manufacturing side of things, there are some liberties where if you want a short-run production, customers would be willing to pay you more to get the product out right in front of their customers. When they're facing shortage, they would be willing to shell that kind of money. But virtual reality and augmented reality could be really big game changers in this industry, especially if you want to bring in an untrained workforce and do these like skilled jobs, if you will.
Yeah, I agree that that's a good one. I mean, it's still in such basic things as the SNOP process, for instance, right? How much like technologies like yours could be integrated with others,
Right.
to build a comprehensive set of new information, right?
Yeah.
And that's a movement that I don't see happening a lot. That is like the orchestration of the different systems, right? Because you're solving warehousing, we are solving like supply chain flexibility when we provide to our clients a like big network of different contract manufacturers. Like if virtually their supply chain capabilities are now unlimited, right? That's more or less what we try to do. So if a client of ours that works in the cosmetics field, if they want to invent, I don't know, something in the food industry, they could do it seamlessly because now they have access to the supply chain, right?
Correct.
So anyways, but we are solving like parts of the entire problem.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's my opinion now. That probably the next big thing or will be around orchestration of the different softwares and platforms, because we are all creating like niche technologies.
Correct.
I mean, not niche because warehousing management is not niche at all. I mean,
when you look at the grand scheme of things, it is a niche.
Yeah, right. And
like
I'm
one
just,
area of
and then I keep thinking, will company move away from their legacy, like SAPs or you know those platforms, to go and hire like multi different small solutions that in separate work better,
right?
But they are not well orchestrated as their legacy systems, right? I mean, that's a whole different topic, but I don't know if you ever thought about it or if you see like, I don't know, any solution for this orchestration problem, or if your clients come to you and say, okay, I love it.
Yeah.
But then how does it integrate with my ERP system?
Right. That's a $1 billion question, if you will, right? Like I know there are some people who are working to try and solve that problem, but it's also, again, from a whole supply chain perspective, it's still a niche. They're just trying to solve the problem in warehouses with like trucking. Even within warehousing, there's so many different languages, different formats of data, legacy systems, that it's not consistent. When you bring in like manufacturing and retailers on both ends of the spectrum, and then shipping, these are again like all different legacy systems, which I don't think are going away anytime soon. There's a big level of inertia when you implement an ERP platform, a warehouse management system. These are some of the biggest capital intensive projects these industries will ever undertake, right? So asking them to just change to a new system will be a very big task. Unless you have 10x better, 100x better software, they're not going to move, right? We're talking about legacy industries. When we build a software out, this is exactly the question we get, right? We are not trying to create a new dashboard or a new platform simply because of this inertia which exists in this industry. We take data from what their system has already been in place and send it back to them. Right? They can consume our AI data in whichever platform they're already using, right? So that it becomes easy for them to adopt a solution like ours. A lot of companies that we talk to are doing similar things. There's just so many players involved in a supply chain, like right from raw material all the way to goods coming to a retail store. And you know this, right? There's so many different players involved here that it becomes extremely hard to have like one standard format. When we do, it will be extremely easy to like go in and plug in and different softwares wherever you see the need. And that's one question that we ask a lot of our customers as well, that, hey, do you want one software which does 5 different things, mediocrely well, versus one software each which is like best in their class? And 99% of the cases, they'll select like a mediocre software which does 5 things, just so that they don't have to work on 5 different integrations in their platform. So yeah, like going back to my first comment, it's $1 billion idea and question. Sure. It's very hard to solve. That's why it's not been done yet. But I hope someone somewhere out there does it so that it becomes easy for us to integrate with a lot of our customers.
But that's why we are here, right?
Right.
Yeah, it seems like we're gonna have our jobs for a long time still until we are able to
Not complaining.
Yeah, right. Until we are able to solve those problems. So we talked about like opportunities, right? Of course, AI in warehousing, which is what they're doing. Opportunities in AI for communication, because you said like clients of yours are still using like paper to communicate. We saw opportunities in AI for orchestration of the different systems, the legacy ERPs with the new technologies that are coming.
Right.
Are there any other new, not new, but like area within supply chain that you think can also be disrupted with AI before we finish?
So I think it's already being disrupted is a lot around the inventory management and how you control which products are coming in, which products are going out, things like that. We talked about the Super Bowl example, right? Like where they were not able to predict. But when you go out and order, you go online right now and order something on Amazon, right? It shows you an approximate time that, hey, if you order within the next 3 hours, we can deliver it by this morning, tomorrow morning, right?
They count the minutes, right?
Correct.
You have to order until...
and
a lot of pressure.
That's because they have an engine in the background which is able to predict that, hey, it seems like Raphael is sitting in Chicago right now. This is his zip code. This is the nearest warehouse we have. This is what the time it will take, and it's predicting your next move, right? It's an interesting anecdote over here in 2013 or 2014. And this is public news. You can look it up. There's Project Houdini, which was an Amazon code word for predicting this exactly. So they have an algorithm in place where, depending on all your past purchases, they have recorded all your, patterns, behaviors, where you're going. There's a lot of data available. If you're on Instagram, you can pull that data as well, right? So where are you eating? Things like that, and they can predict that, hey, Raphael likes Mountain Dew a lot, right? He's probably going to order it anytime in the next 1 week. So before you click that buy button, it's already in a warehouse close to you in like surrounding proximity, so that when you buy it, you can get it in within 24 hours, right? So that's the kind of, and it's now becoming more and more available to even like smaller vendors, right? People who are selling stuff on Shopify, on TikTok, even like small restaurants, food manufacturers, like what are the behavior patterns? And they're able to get this large amounts of data, and the advances in AI technology, like the chips becoming way cheaper now, allows people to, have these softwares available, which allows them to actually predict, right? Like, hey, what's next? How can we reduce the waste? How can we actually buy products which will be sold exactly tomorrow at this time? So that is on an inventory scale, whether you talk about warehouse, whether you talk about retail stores or restaurants even, that is coming, and it's already being used in a widespread manner.
Great. I love the name, Houdin Project. That tells a lot about it. And I didn't know it. I'll definitely check it out. So, Nilay, well, it's been a big pleasure having you here with us. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experience, what you already know. Thank you for your availability.
Absolutely.
And I'm really happy to count with peers in the supply chain space.
Yes.
And I hope that more and more, regardless the size of the companies, they open their doors to new technologies, new people like coming, like you guys that are doing an incredible work.
Right.
I already referred you for a lot of our clients, and I'll keep doing it.
Yes.
Okay, because I really think that what you guys are doing is incredible. So thank you so much, and thank you for everybody that either watched us today or listened to us today. And stay tuned for the next episodes of the CPG experts, supply chain experts, and tech experts that are disrupting supply chain. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.